Good evening, you fantastic and glorious degenerates of this floating rock that we call Earth. Welcome back to the Cajun Libertarian Live, or the Cajun Libertarian Show. Sorry, I am your host, the Cajun Libertarian Noel Olin, and tonight we have a very special guest on, Mr. Joe Soloski, who's running for governor of Pennsylvania. So let's get into that phenomenal conversation just right now, coming up next on the Cajun Libertarian Show. Yes, indeed. Welcome back to the Cajun Libertarian Show. I am your host, Noel Lynn, aka the Cajun Libertarian. And tonight, as we lead off with our first sponsor, we're going to roll with Mr. Joe Soloski himself, the man of the hour. JoeSoloski.com for Pennsylvania governor, the key to Pennsylvania's success. So go check him out, JoeSoloski.com. That's JoeSoloski.com. JoeSoloski.com. Without further ado, let's bring on Joe, the man of the hour. Joe, how are you?
Thank you, Noel. What a wonderful introduction. I appreciate it, sir.
No, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being a sponsor of the show, and might I add, the longest running sponsor of this program that a lot of people enjoy and watch. So, sir, we thank you a lot.
It's a pleasure. It's an honor.
Yeah, thank you. The honor is all mine. Like I was telling you beforehand, I wanted to mention this because it's been a while that you've been sponsoring the show, and you have literally helped pay our bills. That's how important ads and sponsors are. Over 2 years, we've lived in the same house with the same bills while I've continuously gained raises and sponsors and downloads that get paid for the show. However, my wife has now been forced back into the workforce because of the inflationary cost. That is not a joke. That is not hyperbolic, people. That is very real. Same bills, raises plus more income coming just from me, and yet we still cannot afford them any longer because of what's going on with inflation. So, Joe, thank you for helping us out, and thank you to my other sponsors, which we will get to here in a few minutes. But what's it looking like for you in Pennsylvania with everything going on inflationary wise and with the Fed hiking up the interest rates? Tell us about it.
I'll tell you, these duopoly inflation increases, all caused by both the Republicans and the Democrats printing money, money, money. Gosh, they are our worst enemy. Absolutely. And every state, has to deal with it. Just Pennsylvania does too. The fact that we have the second highest gasoline and diesel fuel taxes in the nation makes it tougher here than a few places, I'm sure. Let's face it, though. We Americans are resilient. We're going to constantly be victorious in spite of our government. That's always the mode of operation that we all have to work within. And we beat them at their own game every time, but we have to keep focused and keep working on beating them. Minimizing government, cutting spending, eliminating taxation. It's all crazy here in Pennsylvania. Our taxes are way too high. Our spending has doubled in just 20 years. Government spending has doubled, actually more than doubled. My plan as governor is going to be to cut that budget by at least 5% per year, every year that I'm in office. That'll be a huge improvement. If we can do that, if we can also be cutting taxation, we can make Pennsylvania a tax haven. And at that point, Pennsylvania will be a lot better place for businesses and individuals to live and thrive.
Yeah, 100% agree. So let's stay on Pennsylvania for a second. I know that you guys just had Nicole on, your candidate
I
for
saw that.
lieutenant governor, Nicole
Yeah.
Schultz. Had
Hmm.
her on last week.
Great.
You guys have a massive, two massive industries. That I know you have more than that, obviously, but I want to focus on these two. You have the drilling,
Hmm.
oil and gas
Hmm.
industry that's huge in Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
and you have the agriculture in
Oh,
Pennsylvania, and
huge.
both of which affect the United States as a whole. So
Hmm.
tell us
Hmm.
what's going wrong in Pennsylvania with those two departments, and how can we get back to fixing that?
Well, I tell you, I could say so much, but first, when it comes to agriculture, and Nicole, that was a great interview you did with Nicole.
Thank you.
She's a lot smarter about agriculture than this guy, let me tell you, and I lean on her for issues like that. One
Amen.
of the things I always point out that's just off kilter here in Pennsylvania, uh, the dairy industry. The dairy industry is big, but we have this thing called the Pennsylvania Milk Marketing Board, and there's actually 5 zones in Pennsylvania where they actually set dairy milk prices. And I think it is constantly a problem. It doesn't accomplish anything great. They need to leave. Price fixing never works. Wage controls don't work. Rent controls don't work. Price fixing doesn't work. All it does is cause shortages. Now, I don't think we have shortages of milk, but I do think the pricing should be better left to the individual farmers. That's one area that I think is just totally off kilter in the whole agriculture industry. When it comes to oil and gas drilling, specifically on natural gas, that's the fracking industry. Fracking
That's right.
is very big here in Pennsylvania, and fracking is safe. There are people who argue that it's not, but it is, and we
100%.
are getting great jobs brought to this state through the fracking industry. We are extracting natural gas that previously could not have even been extracted. That's a plus for everybody because that helps hold energy prices down. Those are two areas. That's an industry that's, I just think, a phenomenal cash cow for Pennsylvania. Those great paying jobs have only increased PA's tax coffers. But Pennsylvania, like most governments, they always want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. And this is a
Right.
perfect example. They want to put severance fees and other taxes on the natural gas fracking industry. And as they do that, if they accomplish it, all they're going to do is scare those industries back out of the state to go to other places where it's more economically feasible to extract that natural resource. So, yeah, those are a couple of things that, and big industries, uh, you know,
Huge.
we need to take care of them. We need to be attracting more businesses to Pennsylvania. That's why cutting spending and cutting taxation. States like Tennessee, Texas, Florida, they don't have income taxes. Business-friendly states don't have income taxes. We've got a corporate income tax. We've got a corporate capital stock tax. We've got personal income taxes. No, it puts us at a competitive disadvantage. I would like to see those minimized or eliminated. And it can be done, but we've got to be cutting our spending. And our state budget was $20 billion in 2002, the operating portion that they always talk about. $20 billion. It's now about 42 billion just 20 years later. So it's more than doubled.
Gosh.
And the money keeps rolling in. We do not have a revenue problem here in Pennsylvania. We've got a government
Right.
spending problem. They
Yes, we
just
do.
can't quit spending, and they're constantly looking for new tax revenue avenues. For the first time, both parties seem like they're really interested in legalizing marijuana, which just a few years ago, neither of them even wanted to touch. Well, the only reason, even though it should have never been banned, and it's not as dangerous as even a beer or a cocktail, the only reason they're getting on board with that right now is they see a new tax revenue stream,
That's right.
just like they did with casino gambling here in Pennsylvania. And they're constantly going to be going after those areas where they can continually tax us. Uh, I'm the only candidate that's talking about turning that backwards and minimizing these costs.
That's excellent. So I want to talk about that as well for a second. Let me go back to fracking real quick. Now,
Yes.
there's a lot of misconceptions about what's happening with the Biden administration and oil production. A lot of which is valid, some of which is not exactly applicable because there's a lot of details and information out there
Hmm.
that is just not necessarily mis or disinformation, but maybe just misleading information. So,
Yeah.
but in what you're experiencing, how much of what's happening in the fracking industry is your local government between your governorship, your legislators, your state elected officials,
Hmm.
and how much of it is the federal government, and what can we do to make sure that that comes back to local Pennsylvania law, and
Hmm.
that way that it can be cured and you can have those jobs back in Pennsylvania like you're talking about because
Absolutely.
that's massive.
I see the biggest impact at the state level. Where I see our current governor Wolf, he has always wanted to put a fracking severance fee, a fracking tax, so to speak, on that industry. And they always window dress it as this wonderful thing that's so fair. Yeah, it's fair, all right. Yeah, you're just going to scare these jobs away. And that's not good for the state. It is wonderful that, there's all sorts of businesses, industries that can come in. This is a high paying industry. And
Very high paying.
exactly, because there's risk involved also when you're in those drilling fields. But the high pay goes with the risk. I want to keep those jobs here, hopefully expand upon them. And when they talk about the safety of it all, I point out to people, fracking natural gas, they are drilling down so deep. They are well beyond even the water table, and they are not damaging anything on the surface. All you have is a typical core,
That.
that, just like you have with any gas drill, any oil drilling, that you have a core that's set down, and once it's down that deep, well below anything it could damage, they're extracting natural gas. They're not harming a darn thing. Yet you have a lot of people that want to turn, kind of like what they did to the nuclear industry in the late 70s, early 80s. They
That's
vilified the
right.
nuclear industry. I'm a big nuclear guy. I want to see us put more
Amen.
nuclear power plants online here in Pennsylvania. We have several. I'd like to see us have a lot more. But I think, I can't recall the exact number, but I think something in the last 40 years, I think the nation's put on maybe one new plant. I mean, that's a shame.
Yep.
It's clean, it's safe. I know I'm off on a tangent here, but we need to be
No,
expanding on
no.
new.
No, I like your tangent. That's why I blew you up big because I wanted people to understand this.
Cool.
So much misconception about your fracking and your drilling, what's going on right there. I wanted people to hear that and really focus in on it because it's absolutely safe. It's absolutely working and provides so much monetary value within the state of Pennsylvania and within local income families, and also throughout the country. A lot of people don't understand how big of a state Pennsylvania is when it comes to the oil and gas industry and how much revenue and income it drives into the plus margin of the
Mhm.
rest of the country.
Absolutely. And we need more of that. I look at what goes on in California recently.
Hmm.
Here they're virtually outlawing selling any internal combustion cars after 2035.
That's
Now,
right.
that doesn't mean that there's not going to be tons of them. There's going to be plenty of them still running on California roads, but they're basically sending a clear signal. They're going uh, electric, they're going EVs, and they don't want gasoline cars in their state. Meanwhile, they have no power to even charge
That's
them.
that's
Uh,
incredible.
yeah, and I think earlier this year, last winter, there was a major traffic pile up and crash on Interstate 80 through northern Pennsylvania. It wasn't cleared up for 2 days. Now, mind you, this is winter.
I remember
It's
that.
snow, it's ice,
Yep.
it's cold.
Yep.
There are people that didn't make it out of their cars for 2 days. Can you imagine being in an electric vehicle, after a certain period of time, you couldn't even move, I'm sure. Now those things are a hazard. So I could go on and on about those. I know there's disposal problems with EV batteries.
That's
Uh,
right,
the
100%.
Yes, and I don't know why they're pushing them so hard. And worse, I don't know why government's subsidizing them so much, because sooner or later you're going to have massive problems with these battery disposals.
Yeah. I can tell you what I think is going on, and you can, feel free to disagree or say, no, that's just kind of crazy nonsense or whatever. Personally, I believe this to be the absolute truth. If we're looking at models for which we have this I don't know how familiar you are with ESG, environmental, social justice, and governance. It's a social credit score,
Oh,
and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
yeah, really. We could
But that,
spend an hour or
you know,
two on
yeah,
that.
absolutely. There's a ton of companies that are going into that now. But I'll tell you what I believe that they want, because if you see, there's two main um, avenues of rhetoric coming from the federal government when it comes to gas-powered automobiles right now. Number one, it's switched to electric vehicles. Okay. Number two, it's switched to um, mass population transit,
Mm.
buses and subways and such.
Hmm.
Okay. Now we just saw what happened in Colorado, where their electrical system, their heating and air system, was digitally hooked to the electric company, which was being told what to do by the governor of Colorado, and they shut their freaking air conditioner off. And
Mm.
I think personally that's what they want, because I'm sorry, it's not a wide stretch of the imagination that government wants control over
Oh,
every aspect of your life. So,
absolutely.
why wouldn't they want to be able to shut your car down whenever you violate one of the ES or Gs or any other arbitrary rule that they put in place?
Sure.
You don't
Sure.
do what they want, X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, they can shut you down. You can't go to work. You can't go
Right.
here. You can't go there.
That's right. They have just um, seized, for all intents and purposes, all of your resources. And if you can't make it to work, if you can't get from point A to point B, you're pretty helpless. Another thing you
Yep.
would mention, like social credit scores. One of the things I'm very, very wary of, especially at the federal government level, how you keep hearing talk about them wanting to eliminate cash, go to a cashless society.
That's
I
right.
think that'd be a horrible disaster, because now they will be
Absolutely.
able to not only know every move you make, every penny you spend, but you know they will at that moment be able to effectively implement, whether they ever admit to it or not, a social credit system. And they will
Yep.
indeed own your life. We can't ever let that happen. We have to fight them tooth and nail on that.
Yeah, 100%. Because if they get control over, and they're already working on this. I've spoke about this several times, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep talking about it. Just it wasn't that long ago, maybe 2 months ago, where a lady from the World Economic Forum was saying that the Western civilization, specifically, she was talking about Canada, the United States, were on the brink of a federal digital coin. Right, so doing away with the fiat currency, which on its face sounds good if you don't know anything about what government does.
Sure.
But 12 seconds of government research says, well, if they have a digital coin and that's our national currency, well, then they can just cut it off whenever they
Absolutely.
want.
All of a sudden, all of a sudden, you don't have access to your bank account. All of a sudden, you don't have access to any of your funds. If you have anything socked away, you can't sell or trade it. All of a sudden, you could be homeless.
Yep.
Think about that. They could
Yep.
compromise all of your resources. And
All of
we
them.
have to be on guard about this. My fear is that too many people don't even focus on it.
Yeah. And you're right. That is the biggest one for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Good news is that amongst one of the other many blessings that the COVID tyranny era gave us, it supplied a lot of people with red pills. And before you all that don't understand, red pill is not a Republican stance. I have to habitually say this, and it's sad. I guess it's because of my age, The red pill is a matrix reference, right?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
blue pill means you stay plugged into the system and unaware and asleep.
Yes.
The red pill means you take it and then you gain all of the knowledge of what's actually going on behind the scenes. It has nothing to do with Republican or Democrat.
You
But
actually
a lot
see
of
it.
people got yep, you actually see what's actually happening. And me and my wife have been talking about this recently because we do so much research and travel so many rabbit holes. We're like, man, sometimes it would have been okay to take the blue pill, but
Mm.
then we would be left fightless. We would have
Yes.
no knowledge in our arsenal to be able to combat the system with. And
Yes.
so it's bittersweet, right? But to know this and to wake up to this and to see what their plans are is not only frightening, but it also, for me, it provides that white pill. It's that pill of hope. It's that
Mm.
light on the horizon saying,
Like that.
we actually know what's going on, and now we just have to feed other people this same information so that we can carry forward and move on. And we got to start in battleground states like Pennsylvania, which you were a great example of what you were just talking about was cannabis.
Hmm.
And I'm a red pill again here, okay? Since I just explained it, I have to explain it again. Medical cannabis saves lives.
Yes. Yes.
Pharmaceutical medication destroys lives. Now
Absolutely.
you know why cannabis has been outlawed. Not you, Joe. I know you know this.
Sure.
I'm talking to everybody else, right?
Mm.
Now, that is why cannabis has been illegalized for so long because it was such a freaking detrimental reward to the oil-based, petroleum-based
Mhm.
pharmaceutical company. So tell us what we can do in Pennsylvania, or give me your thoughts on that, and then keep
Well,
going about PA.
I think one of the things we have to guard against is we can't as things and I'm not for legalization. I'm for full
Decriminal.
decriminalization.
Amen.
Big difference. Big difference. The,
Amen.
the, the drug war has failed. We've ruined too many lives uh, people for holding onto a flower pot, which is the equivalent of holding a geranium. Cannabis is no different. You can have that marijuana plant. You're not hurting anyone. And I think you should be able to grow it in your own window boxes. Okay. And
Amen.
hey, I've never used marijuana. I'm just looking at it from the logical point of view. You should be able to put anything into your body that you want. It's your business. I don't care if you want to sell a kidney. You should be able to do that. Uh, just if you want to smoke marijuana, hey, I got news for you. If I ever end up in a situation where I'm having to experience daily chronic pain,
Yep.
and I know that medical marijuana or recreational marijuana is going to give me some relief, I'm the first one in line, buddy. And I
Amen.
think everybody else should get the same shot. And we don't have to be taxing it. We don't have to be regulating. Okay, I'll tell you what, a little bit of regulation isn't a bad thing to the degree that it preserves quality. Okay. I think, there's drugs out there laced with fentanyl. If all of a sudden you legalize all drugs and you have certain safety regulations in place as to quality, that part's actually a good thing. I can go along with that. I'd back that. But I don't think that they should have onerous taxes. Maybe it's something that is subject to a sales tax, like so many other things. There's certain things you can do. But we need to make these things available to people, and government needs to, just for the love of heaven, get out of the way.
Amen. I mean, that would be the best course of action. And we need to look no further than the government response. We could go a lot further. A lot. We could go decades, a century further. But let's focus on the here and now, the recent present.
Okay.
Just look at what they did during COVID. I mean, it's remarkable how much damage was caused with their response to the virus
Absolutely.
as opposed to what it actually caused.
Yes.
I mean, we're looking at. I know you know this, Joe. We're looking in this fall. So all through this year, we've relied on last year's harvest
Mhm.
of crops from farmers,
Mhm.
and again, bringing it home to Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Agriculture is a big deal in Pennsylvania. But as we approach the fall, and we're already seeing it here in my state of Mississippi, which I'm from Louisiana, but we live in Mississippi, so
Okay.
there will be food shortages. They're predicting in mostly third world countries an extra 100 million people dying of starvation from a supply chain crisis that we caused through
Absolutely.
our response to
Yes, we did.
COVID, which didn't do anything because on record from the CDC, we still have over a million dead from or with the coronavirus. So
Absolutely.
the response is always worse. The answer is get out of the way and let the market work itself out. And
Please.
there's no
Yes.
different with cannabis. It's medicinal, even when it's recreational. People are
Yes.
still getting the medicinal side effects of it.
Yes.
Okay, it's the
Hmm.
number one organic anti-inflammatory medicine on the planet.
Absolutely.
Number one, indisputed by a long shot. And
Hmm.
so, how close are you guys to getting it completely? And I'm 100% with you, Joe. I talk to a lot of people. They're like, "We need to legalize it. We need no. Stop, stop, stop. Decriminalize it."
Yes.
Okay, if you
Yes.
drive around a freaking Ford Escalade or a Cadillac Escalade, I mixed my two cars out there, just made out of cannabis with tires that roll, that should be perfectly okay. You don't need to
Absolutely.
legalize it. Just make it not a criminal offense to possess it, distribute,
Mhm.
or consume it. How
You
far are
know,
we away from Pennsylvania?
we're getting closer. They have fought it every step of the way, but as I said, they're talking about it now because they see a new tax revenue stream. There is at least one bill that's being floated out there to legalize it. Again, I advocate for full decriminalization. I responded, took on Governor Wolf recently. I saw where he or one of his people on his behalf tweeted that we need the time has come that we need to legalize marijuana. And I pointed out to him, I said, "Wow, Governor Wolf, just 4 years ago when you were running for election, the quote was from you that Pennsylvania is not ready for marijuana legalization." And so I challenged him and I said,
Huh.
So what's changed?" Well, the bottom line is that was a little sarcastic because nothing has
Right.
changed. It's never
Right.
been a danger. It never should have been made illegal. The benefits far outweigh anything that somebody could say is a danger. I can't even list one. Uh, they're only looking at it to tax it. So it's getting closer here in Pennsylvania. I think we have a really great shot at it. Uh, I guarantee you this: when I'm governor, the first bill that will completely decriminalize it that comes across my desk, I am signing that day.
Amen. That's what I'm talking about. JoeSoloski.com. JoeSoloski.com. JoeSoloski.com.
Thank
Real
you.
quick, if you want to, yes, sir, you're very welcome. If you want to have t shirts that can start a conversation, go to disto.com, disto.com. Disto is a libertarian owned shirt company with designs intended to start a conversation. Use code CAJUN15, CAJUN15, for 15% off your order at disto.com. That's Cajun15 for 15% off of your order at disto.com, DSYDO.com. As you can see, I'm wearing mine now. It says dangerous liberty over peaceful slavery. So these are some of the
Nice.
conversations that we can have with random people in the grocery store or in the Dollar General aisle or wherever it is that you are. When we talk about these things like decriminalizing uh, medicinal marijuana, just cannabis in general, decriminalizing, and then talking about how what Joe's saying right here is if we legalize it, you wind up with X, Y, and Z from government interference versus decriminalization. So if you're looking
Mhm.
for an availability to start a conversation in random areas, trust me, I've had many of them with wearing controversial T-shirts. Please check them out. Uh, Joe, I thought that was a perfect opportunity to get into that second sponsor right there. So
Cool.
I took a
Excellent.
stab at it. And don't forget, y'all, that Joe is the longest running sponsor of this show. So please go check him out, joesolosky.com.
Thank
Now,
you.
Joe, yeah, you're very welcome. I want to ask you about what's happening with you specifically in Pennsylvania. And when you and I first met, well, I mean, we talked a lot longer before we first
Sure.
met. You've always been a great friend and a really great dude. And I think That everybody can see that. That's obviously obvious. Okay,
Thank you.
so what happened? Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very genuine and authentic, and that's something that I can gravitate towards, and I hope everybody else does. I think that's the only reason most people watch this show is because I'm genuine, authentic. I'm gonna have strong opinions, but I'm genuine about them. So, um, you're a libertarian minded individual,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then
Very much so.
something happened. Yeah,
Uh,
obviously, very much so, a libertarian-minded individual. And something happened through the whole election cycle of basically everywhere around the country when it comes to the LP. So, how did you wind up running in the Keystone Party? And then
mm.
give us a little background. Tell us the differences between the Keystone Party and the LP.
Well, first of all, the Keystone Party is a wonderful new party that just started here in Pennsylvania. We will be taking the party national after November 8th, right after the election. I've often called it the next natural evolution of liberty. Now, that's not our slogan, but I refer to it that way because with the LP, with the Libertarian Party, the wheels have fallen off this year, and it ain't pretty. It's a shame. It affected me at the convention this past March. As you
Oh man.
probably recall, I was the first one in this race for governor. I entered the race in December 2020, and it's been a long, fun haul. But when
Yeah.
I got to the convention, things went awry because there was a particular caucus, the Mises Caucus, who now controls the Libertarian Party. They were not in my corner because I would not bow to them. I think they are detrimental to the cause of liberty. And their leader, a gentleman who started that organization, actually stepped up to the mic to nominate somebody else to run against me. He had every right to do that. But
Right.
the gentleman, unfortunately, had a criminal record as a sex offender. And they must not have done their vetting very well. Long story short, they eventually got him thrown off the nomination ballot, not due to his past, but due to the fact that he didn't meet the residency requirement of all things. You have to be
Oh.
living in this state 7 consecutive years minimum to run for governor, and he had not. So the Mises group decided to vote against me and put nobody on the ballot for governor.
So there were
So
no.
I left that convention, and the people who I really am close to, the true hard workers of the Pennsylvania Libertarian Party, they were leaving also. And these are the people that achieve ballot access. These are the people that caused Pennsylvania to have more elected libertarians than all other states in the nation combined. These people are workers. These people are doers. And they love individual rights and liberty as much as I do. So I could not be part of forming Keystone because I'm a candidate. I was precluded from that. But they put the
Right.
work forward to start the party. As soon as it was official, I changed my registration, and I'm now the Keystone Party candidate for governor. I'm your better choice for governor, your independent choice. And you'll see me on the ballot this November 8th. It has been something I didn't anticipate initially, but it has turned out to be an amazing blessing because I can now focus not just on running, but on expanding liberty, expanding personal, individual rights, not just here in Pennsylvania, but throughout this country without the LP drama and the LP disaster that has taken place in the last few months to a year since that particular caucus seized power of that party. I don't have to deal with that anymore, or the people that made it all very, very difficult. So that's a quick capsule about what happened to me. Keystone is, check us out, keystone.party. Do a search for us. We'll pop right up. Our platform is there. If you are a person who is very liberty minded, very individual rights minded, someone who's more interested in solutions to the problems government has created, believe me, we are the party for you. We have, at this point, 24 states that have reached out to us and are interested in forming their own Keystone affiliates. So I think in very, very short order, we will have half of the nation organized. And I think in just 5 short years, you're going to see the Keystone Party achieve more than the Libertarian Party did in its first 50.
Well, obviously that's going to be left to be seen. I'm still very much a libertarian, although I'm
Understand?
back to a small L. I don't pay dues to my state, and I don't pay dues to my to the national LP, and there are no specific reasons for that, right? But I represent the libertarian brand, not because of the party, but because of the principles.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
so,
I
right,
point out to
and so
people, it's not just a party, it is a philosophy. It is an economic and political philosophy. So when somebody says, yes, I adhere, I agree with libertarian ideals, hey, me too. I'm right there. That is what's going to save this country. When you look at the party, that's another story. And there are great pockets here in this country. New Mexico is one of them. They just disaffiliated from the LP. I'm guessing your state party is wonderful. Indiana is another. They have been able to resist this takeover madness of the Mises Caucus and still be that libertarian party that we all knew and loved. And if it's those people that cause the Libertarian Party to resurrect itself and become the great third largest party that it became here in this country, it's going to be those people doing that hard work. Unfortunately, they're going to have to do an unnecessary amount of damage control that never needed to have to be done. But that's what the Mises Caucus has influenced and thrown on the LP. And it's a rotten shame. A lot of us loved it there. A lot of us really felt we fit there, but they're turning it around in very short order. And I don't want to be along for that ride. Like you, very liberty minded, and I will be that way till the day I die.
amen. Yeah, we all know that for sure. I want to get to this comment, but before I do, the comment says, "Will not running a candidate for governor ruin ballot access for the LP?" I'm assuming he means in Pennsylvania, since it sounds like that the Libertarian Party is not going to have a candidate for the LP. But let me say this before we go ahead.
They do. They do. Let me be clear. Of course, you have the 2 candidates that are Republican Democrat. There's 3 more. There's Keystone, your best choice for governor in Pennsylvania. We also have your Green Party candidate, Christine DiGiulio, if I'm saying her last name properly. She's the Green Party candidate for governor. And the Libertarians have also nominated a candidate. Now, it was questionable whether they could or not, but I'm not pursuing that. When they chose not to run a candidate for governor at the convention where I was nominated, the bylaws at that time basically indicated, well, then you're not running anyone this year. The new leadership of the LPPA then had 2 quick emergency meetings in the ensuing 2 weeks, and they then nominated someone for governor, and the Libertarian Party did manage to get that person on the ballot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that? Well, never mind.
Oh, the gentleman's name is Matt Hackenberg. I have not met him personally, but he is their candidate.
That sounds familiar.
Mm.
Now, I want everyone to know that I'm not anti-Mises. I'm not against Mises. I think there's some very good, things about the Mises Caucus. I think there's a lot of kinks to be worked out. And like I was telling my buddy on the phone, I'm hoping they can work that stuff out, over the next coming months, hopefully shorter than that. Transitions are always tough, but
for sure.
There's a proper way to go about some of this stuff. And personally, when it comes to Pennsylvania specifically, I'm not a big fan of how that was conducted. And I made that very clear to certain very high level leaders of the Mises Caucus, and I'm hoping that they can take that to heart and say,
Hmm.
that was not done well. You had
Hmm.
a great candidate in Joe Soloski, the guy sitting to my left on screen. It maybe you're right on screen. I'm not sure, but not a big fan of what happened, to put it mildly. That being said, again, I'm not a Mises hater. I'm willing to give them some time. We'll see how it works out. Hopefully, it works out better. But I did think that that was a pretty obvious and really kind of a bad failure on their end is what they did to Mises, or I'm sorry, what they did to Pennsylvania with you,
Hmm.
Nicole Schultz. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think Liz Terwilliger as well.
Well, Liz, what a fantastic candidate for Congress. Liz is probably one of the hardest working people I know. I don't think I can hold a candle to her as hard as she works, and she's constantly involved in community projects. She puts her money where her mouth is, but she decided on her own personally to step away because of personal family decisions that she felt needed more attention
Okay.
than a congressional run. I anticipate 2 years down the road, we see Liz's hat in the ring again. And that'll be a
Okay.
lucky thing for all voters.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Liz, for me personally, Liz is one of the people that I picked to be one of the strongest candidates for the first Senate and congressional nominees that we could get as a
Absolutely.
party. And so
Absolutely.
that's why I asked you genuinely, because I wasn't sure what happened there,
Hmm.
but I was told by third parties, which I'm gonna always take that with a
Sure.
grain of
Sure.
salt. That's why I asked you specifically, right? And I was
Absolutely.
told that she didn't receive the nomination and all this. So in short order, yeah, I think Pennsylvania was kind of a disaster, and so it is what it is. I mean,
It is what it
throw
is.
all the hate
And
throw all the hate my way, but
I admire you giving current LP leadership a chance. I think that's very, very fair. I was in a position where, especially as a candidate, I was not in a position to do that. I didn't have the confidence in them, especially here in Pennsylvania. In another state, possibly,
right,
possibly, and the party still has had some great candidates, and like I said, you've got Cassie Rowland in Indiana. You had Ginger Grider in
yeah,
New
amazing.
Mexico, just to name a couple. Yeah, we could go on and on. There are pockets that are still very, very effective, and I hope that these people are able to resurrect the party and make it all that it can be.
Well, I'm hoping. I think it's possible. And again, like I said, we, not to get down into all the semantics and details of X, Y, and Z of what the shortcomings are of the transition over the last 4 months,
Hmm.
which some there are a lot to outline in detail. There are a lot,
Hmm.
but in short order, transitions are tough. So I'm going to give them some time. That's just me. That's
There
who
you
I
go.
am. I'm not going to be some emotional reactionary. And y'all aren't, right? You're running for office. That's completely
Sure.
different. So don't want that
Absolutely.
conflated. That's completely different. You're running for office, so you had to do what you had to do to make sure that you're put
Absolutely.
on the ballot and a
Absolutely.
candidate for office and change the landscape of Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
which changes the landscape of freaking America. So
Well,
nothing taken away from there. But for the other people, no, I'm not going to be reactionary emotionally and just get all out of work. I'm gonna give some time. I'm gonna give some chance.
gotcha.
Um,
But on my
when it
side,
comes to
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, no.
I was just going to say on my side, Keystone is going to be that catalyst. I would recommend all your listeners check out Keystone Party. You will see everything that we are about. You're going to, if you keep your eye on us, you're going to see a lot of growth, a lot of positiveness. We are a great place for you to land. We are desperately wanting to be that home for independents who have felt so disenfranchised by the duopoly and other parties. We want to be that home for those independent voters that are looking for a place that actually works well for them.
No, I love that very much so, and I think we obviously laid out earlier with if it's just strictly fracking, natural gas, uh, cannabis, that
Mhm.
your decision to move on to the Keystone Party, which was basically created by a handful of libertarians
Mhm.
to make sure that you're still on the ballot. It's not some sort of anti-Mises movement or anything like that. It's just, hey, look, we don't like how what and how went down,
Mhm.
so we're going to make sure that we have our opportunities to make our voices heard. And so
Absolutely.
there shouldn't be any question in that manner. So I want to ask you what differs between the Keystone Party and the Libertarian Party, and how would you like to see your party grow while also, obviously supporting libertarian principles?
Well, like I said, we're all about pursuing solutions. We desperately need solutions. We desperately want to appeal to independents and bring them more so to the table so that we can influence electing great candidates to office. Let's face it, more than 50% of people in this country do not associate with either Republican or Democrat.
That's right.
We
That's
want
right.
to be a better home for people to land and to operate from. Uh, we think our platform will speak well. We're very careful in the fact that we're always advocating for individual rights, individual liberties, but at the same time, the Keystone platform has left candidates individually to be able to talk about certain issues about how we specifically stand. We don't have to adhere to a specific party mantra or platform. There's a lot of flexibility here, and we think that's very, very attractive. That's a big difference
Yes.
from where the Libertarian Party has operated from. Libertarian Party was a very, very bottoms up organization, whereas typically Republicans and Democrats very, very top down. Uh,
Yeah.
on paper, that really works well, but we saw what happened in the last year with the different takeovers, where the bottoms up approach actually worked to the detriment of those particular states. We don't have that in our formation with Keystone. We have safeguards against that. But the more important thing is the work we're going to do to be electing great candidates in every state and to make this a national movement in short order. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I look forward to being able to have these conversations with you uh, in the future, looking back at that moment retrospectively on all the accomplishments that we've made.
Absolutely 100% agree because quite from a personal, just intrigued standpoint, right? Like,
Mhm.
let's put politics aside,
Okay.
kind of, because it's still political, but it's amazingly intriguing and fascinating to watch you, y'all start a new party with
Hmm.
very libertarian ideals and fundamentals and start it from the ground up, and let's see how it goes and where it grows and in each state and at each time. I absolutely look
Yes,
forward to speaking with you in the future as well. I
absolutely.
think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And look, if you're mad about that, get over it. Look, it's a brand new political party. It's going to be interesting to watch to see where it all blossoms and grows or
Absolutely.
even fails. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to watch. So
Hmm.
make sure we maintain the open mind, y'all. That's all I
Absolutely.
ask. But I do need to. There's a great comment here from the lunatic libertarian Cajun.
Okay.
Ask Joe, should Pennsylvanians pay for energy? Or should the lease contracts include that energy that comes from their land?
That's the question being asked of me. Energy
Yeah, I
is
think it.
energy is a commodity. And if you're a company that is extracting energy, be it on Pennsylvania land or otherwise, if you're extracting that energy, you now own it. And if you're going to sell it to the open market, obviously there's going to be a price charged. I don't
Yeah,
see where I could see his question where he's saying, oh, maybe Pennsylvania should get a break because it's taken out of their own subterranean land. Messy issue. I think that's a slippery slope. I think we need to let the market prevail here. And if I'm running a energy company that extracts natural gas, guess what? I'm the one putting the risk out there. All my investors, if we don't do a good job, if we fail, we go out of business. Likewise, if we are doing a great job and we can extract that natural gas and get it to market, we have every right to charge a price for it and to make a profit, hopefully a very, very good profit.
Yeah, I hope so. And I can guarantee you that, and I know Lunatic Libertarian very well, or I wouldn't say very well, but pretty good. We're friends.
Good guy.
I've been
Good
on
guy.
his show. Good guy. Yeah, I expect that that's the answer he was looking for. So just to clarify, it was not a setup question or a gotcha. It was probably more of a layup for you to slam dunk that, as you did.
Oh,
So,
well, I just gave the Joe Soloski perspective. He nice and easy.
Yeah, that perspective of yours, Sir Joe Soloski, has been very great every time I've ever talked to you. So let's end on this because we only have just about 8 minutes left, and it really is just kind of for fun, somewhat, right? Okay. Albeit very potentially dangerous for the country. What do you think about everything that's unraveled over the Trump raid over the last few weeks? Because are we going to start just arresting our political opponents for ambiguous adventures? Or, we could obviously arrest our former politicians for real things like bombing brown kids overseas, war crimes.
Yes.
Blatant war crimes, which every single president, including Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Carter, all of them going back to basically Woodrow Wilson. So what are we doing? What do you see this as? How dangerous is it that we're setting a new precedent in that, or are we completely clear?
I think we just don't know. Because look, on the one hand, you could say, okay, maybe this is someone like Joe Biden and his administration going after a political opponent and weaponizing the FBI for that purpose. Okay, that argument can be made. You have the other one that says, wait a minute, if Trump actually did take files, documents with him of a very sensitive national security nature, that could compromise the country, compromise safety, that raid's warranted. There's two arguments. They both sound great. Right. We don't know. The only thing I know to do is to suspect both sides at every turn, because one thing they've proven to me in my lifetime is they cannot be trusted. The moment, when I think of growing up, I remember being in class as an elementary school kid, middle school, senior high. They taught you certain things and you were basically proud of your government. I think we all want to trust our government. I think we all want to be proud of our government. They just again and again and again give us no reason to. And that's clearly obvious to every citizen, I think, in this country. And it's a shame. It wouldn't be difficult for government to be great. It wouldn't be difficult. All they have to do is make it less about themselves and more about serving, more about us. They need to rein in their spending. They need to cut taxes drastically. Yes, they need to stay out of other people's business and quit waging wars that have nothing to do with us. They need to quit passing lousy laws that criminalize holding onto a little plant called marijuana. And I point out to people, there's never been a government prohibition that's worked. It's never solved one problem.
One time.
And right now, like one of my opponents here in Pennsylvania, the Republican candidate, he wants an absolute, no exception, ban on abortion. What a disaster that would be. And I'm a pro-life guy. I think most of all of us are deep down. But if you ban abortion, all you're going to do is the same thing every other prohibition does. You're going to create a black market for abortion. You're going to force people to go to another state. You're going to force people to get it in a risky situation. You're going to compromise the health of women with that ban, and you're not going to prevent even a single abortion. Nasty policy on his part, but he's pushing it, and the people that back him seem to be backing it. Very dangerous. I don't trust government. And when I see these things that happen since the Trump raid, yeah, you can look at both sides. I don't think we know all the info yet. There's the problem.
Right. Yeah, no question. We don't know all the info yet. It's just I'm concerned about. I don't. Let's be honest. I really don't care what happens to Trump. I'm not. I've never voted for Trump. I never will.
Mhm. Right.
He's not a guy for me. Okay, he's just not. My concern is that if we frog walk Trump out of Mar-a-Lago and put him in jail for for a president that has clear planetary broad sweeping
Mhm.
declassification um, powers,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But we're not going to do that for Hillary Clinton, who did not have those plenary declassification powers. She
Mhm.
did not have that authority.
Okay.
I don't necessarily care about the hypocrisy. I care about the reaction
Sure.
of what follows from a large swath of people
Mhm.
that, let's be real, we've seen what this administration is willing to do.
Mhm.
I don't want violence because
Right.
violence will rain down. It gives this administration every excuse to rain down the rest of their tyrannical regime that they
Mhm.
and authoritarianism that they want to. So that's my biggest concern. That's why I ask you honestly.
No,
I don't
it's
care
a
about what happens to Trump.
it's a legitimate concern. Let's face it. If, like you say, if they drag him out in shackles, it's going to be for a lot of people January 6th all over again. And we're probably not
Yeah.
just going to see it on the Capitol steps. We're probably going to see it in cities across this nation. Now, I could be
And
dead
way
wrong,
worse.
but you can imagine how that could happen. And I don't know. It's a nasty situation we have, and it really points out how ugly things have gotten within the duopoly.
Amen.
You know, they govern together and yet they create this constant hate for each other.
Yep.
We, ladies and gentlemen, we desperately need to be electing third party candidates. You know, if you
Amen.
vote for Keystone, vote for Green, vote for Constitution, vote for the third party that most closely parallels with you and your beliefs. Do a little research until we can get third parties in there. And I would like to see several. We're not going to be
Amen.
able to finally hold the R's and D's feet to the fire. We desperately need third party. And then beyond that, I want to see ranked choice voting.
Amen. Absolutely, 100%. Oh my God, we're out of time, but I'm gonna have to get into that with you on the next episode.
Let's do it
I, I've,
again.
I've, yeah, absolutely, 100%. I have to talk to you about that RCV because I'm a huge fan, but I feel like I don't know enough. But every bit of information that I do learn, I love it more and more. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
great pitch right there at the end for ranked choice voting. RCV, check it out, y'all. Call your senators, call your legislators. Make sure that this is an option for you. Joe,
Yes.
we're out of time. Can you please tell us all of the things that you need from us, how we can follow you, and how we can support you, please, sir?
I just need you to check me out because I'm your better choice for governor of Pennsylvania. My website is joesoloski.com. That's right, joesoloski.com. Honestly, log on, check me out. Everything that I'm running on and trying to put a spotlight on is right there on my website. You can donate there. Let's face it, campaigns are expensive, and if you're able to loosen up a few bucks for my campaign, it's going to go a very long way for us. So please log on, check me out, and more importantly, get informed. And I hope I can earn your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome, Joe. Thank you so much, man. You are
Thank you.
always A pleasure to no, thank you. You're always a pleasure to be around. I've met you, unfortunately, only once in real life,
That was
but
fun.
as somebody, yeah, as somebody who has, I pride myself in the good sense of pride, not the arrogant sense, but pride myself on a good person of quality, discernment, right? Discernment, being able to look at someone and see that interaction and
Yeah,
say, yeah, that's a good person, or that's somebody I
very cool.
probably shouldn't trust. And Joe, you've always been that person that stood out to me as you can disagree with certain things politically. It doesn't matter. You
Hmm.
care about people. You're a
Absolutely.
very genuine and authentic person, a very caring, smiling, and loving person at all times, which is something that I personally appreciate.
You
So
got
I
it.
really do hope that all of you go check out joesoloski.com. That's JoeSoloski.com. JoeSoloski.com. For governor, the key to Pennsylvania's success. For governor. Yeah, I love saying that, for governor. But is there anything else that you have to throw our way before we get out of here, Joe?
One last thing, Noel. Let's do this again. This is always fun. I would love to
It
do this
is.
again with you.
No, you got it, man. You got it, Joe, for
Cool.
sure.
Fantastic.
You absolutely have every spot that I have available. You're there, bro. No
Thank you.
worries. You
Thank
got
you.
it. Thank you, Joe. You're amazing. Thank you for coming on the show, and we look
Anytime.
forward to seeing what happens in November and hopefully expanding your reach and really overall expanding the access to liberty that the state of Pennsylvania has, because everybody wants to talk about New York, everybody wants to talk about California, but
Mm,
Pennsylvania is one of those states that when they set precedents of liberty, the rest of the country will follow. It's a very
absolutely.
purple state. So Joe,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't wait to look. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Joe. Thank you to everybody that showed up. Absolutely incredible. Go look at joesoloski.com. See how you can and want to help. You can cross check all the candidates there. This is the one thing we appreciate about being third party is that we don't just stick to somebody because they have a certain mascot by their names. That's not what we do. That's why we're third party. So if you're the candidate for governor or candidate for lieutenant governor or any other race in Pennsylvania or any other state in this country, if you're not big fans, go check out who else is running. Just don't vote for R's and D's. I mean, look, if they're that good, then yes, I guess so. Like, right? If Thomas Massey was running in my state, I'd vote for him. If Tulsi Gabbard was running in my state, I'd vote for her. But you're talking about very rare exceptions. Vote third party. Vote for the people that don't have the advantages that the system provides to the absolute freaking corruption that is the duopoly. Look further. Vote further. Has to be done. Has to be done immediately. I will see you later on in the week with another segment from the Cajun Libertarian. And with that being said, make sure you get yourself armed. Make sure you get yourself trained because you don't know what could happen any day or any time at all. With that being said, check out gaparmory.com. Gap Armory carries a wide variety of parts and accessories. Whether you're looking for build kits for 3D printed firearms, optics, outstanding level 4 body armor, or anything in between, they have you covered. Gap Armory is libertarian owned and operated. They also accept Bitcoin. Gap Armory has the gear you need to bridge the gap in your defense preparedness. Get what you need today at gaparmory.com. That's gaparmory.com. 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 And that's going to do it for us here tonight. I love each and every one of y'all very much. And I will see you very soon. And as always, I love you and I am out.